Chapter 46 Aftermath. The Legion returned to Earth, with Mike waiting on the ground, letting them know that not only had there been no additional allies, but they already knew that this next attack was the fault of the Legion, puzzling the lot. Even the Legion manages to take Diane's body back to the base to try and wake him up, but Retron, who will have an advantage over the Legion, has an idea for what to do with Diane, or if anything where to place Diane. Regardless, Mike is very sad that Arvin is gone once he is told the news. And he already sees in Pod's eyes that Pod is not as much into the Legion as he was. Mike somewhat understands that Pod would have to leave the Legion someday, considering that what Pod is aiming for would have taken too long to do considering everything else. There are many problems like crimes that would have been required to be reduced. With the Legion back, a funeral is planned and happens a week later. As well as Arvin's funeral, there are a dozen funerals not only within the Earth but also on many other planets. This had been one of the worst kill counts in a long time, and all of this weighs on the Legion. This also shows that if Torrid was kicked out of the Legion or spotted any signs, then none of this would have happened. The funeral was small, only a few servicemen and public members came. But the rest of the Legion, Mike and even the President all came. Even Arvin has his own grave, which was the final part of the funeral. Even Nicole found a bit of his fur on her armor, something she will cherish, if not use for research purposes. The funeral had other parts too, like his favorite songs playing and some vegetation to decorate the indoors of the service with jungle-like vegetation which he used to favor. The funeral itself goes well, but because of this massive blame on the Legion. The President and many other politicians all agree that the Legion should take a step down, stay away from all the planets and not be the face of Earth's defenses. This does disappoint the lot. After the funeral, Pod and Opusnost have a chat. Pod goes out on his own to get to the Morphils and Mechajaw, and he hopes Opusnost will come, but Opusnost has lost the mood to fight, wanting a chance to wind down after being used for so long. Pod understands this, but they do have one last trip together, off to their trip to the aircraft planet, Garup. Before they leave, Nicole tries to talk some sense into him but to no avail, so Pod leaves on a bitter note. Even Mike appears, trying to get Pod to talk, and while Pod becomes hesitant to leave Mike, but ultimately explains that he is ready to leave the Legion, he is going to sort out the Morphils while the Legion can do whatever they like. Nicole and Mike understand in silence, and so both Pod and Opusnost set up the newly improved comet front and left to the sky. There have been a couple of things Pod had done first before leaving. Firstly, if finding the Morphils and the likes of Garup, Pod requires the Green Ape's GPS technology, and he also uses Mount Lebanon to place her motor in a safe place. Now that Earth has one form of energy to protect. Not to mention Pod and Opusnost get rid of their collaptors, properly disconnecting themselves to the Legion, simply chucked on the floor for Mike and Nicole to collect later. No thanks to the fight from a week ago, Opusnost had lost his interest in fighting. If he struggled against Torrid, then how could he top Xyanthor? Fighting will never be as fun as it was. Zami is too sad, and so tries to see Nicole, but Nicole pushes Zami away. Nicole may learn that less is better when the team works well. But she still has lost 4 members as a result. Who knows how the Legion will build up again. Also, after Arvin's funeral, Retron goes to see the President. The President is sad about losing Arvin. He was his favorite member of the Legion, not really in the mood for Retron. Retron slams the desk and demands to be listened to, even using his collaptor to demonstrate a call recording between Nicole and Mike, proving that the next attack was the Legion's fault, making the Legion concerned. Shocked by the evidence, the President is going to have a work with Mike. Considering shrinking the force of the Legion to prevent another situation like this again, until the Earth has recovered and is more prepared anyway. Retron certainly had his idea to make the Earth more secure and use the old and new Netro technology to create a set of defenses, drones, turrets and planet strikers to make Earth both a defensive and offensive force. The President thought this idea could work, and so he permitted Retron to start this new plan, even letting everyone know, the Legion, politicians, servicemen, the lot. We then see Zami, who is on his own. Near an empty beach, no one is around, but there are a lot of cubes all over. Zami is no longer reliant on others. He is in the right state, but he can use his inner strength to keep himself calm, and he is later okay, despite everything going on. What makes everything worse is that all of these residents from many planets, being inspired by the Legion, have given up after hearing the news about the Legion. Additionally, the remaining Xyanthor allies at the time did get rid of a good load of residents before Dian could reach them. Which made Dian sad as he got rid of those Xyanthor-based allies. Sometimes, influence can make some look past at the consequences, so if being responsible for Torrid's attack wasn't bad enough, more extinctions may have been caused. The Legion thought making the universe rise against Xyanthor could help the Legion, but that turned out to be a bad choice. Even Dian would have thought of this as a bad choice. Now it led to all of this. If the Legion had certain aliens who utilized their abilities well, then anyone could. Anyone could be a savior. The Collabos helped Dian after all, but a savior should be those with enough experience, not as residents throwing themselves into action. A rise in help for the Legion could be possible, but now wasn't the right time. It was all too much for the universe. And Legion should have kept it to themselves. Even if it took time, the residents would still support them right now. The Legion may have never started this uprising. They only used the satellites to track the dangers for residents to use when they needed the Legion. And for races to spread news like Ozona's death. But the Legion didn't tell the races to stop uprising either, and that was another mistake.